Hi, I'm Kirsten Chick, author of Nutrition Brought to Life, and this podcast is a companion to the book. You can listen as you read Nutrition Brought to Life, or before as a kind of preview, or after you finish the book as a refresher. Either way, I hope this helps you make some small changes that make a big difference in your life. Hi, and welcome to episode 21 of the Nutrition Brought to Life podcast. This is a Q&A special where I answer some of the questions you've been sending in. And I'm testing out the new video option, so some of you may be watching as well as listening. Anyway, let's get going. Question number 1. What specific vitamins and minerals help a vegetarian or vegan through perimenopause/menopause? This is a question from Sarah Ruth Dean. The easy answer, it's the same as non-vegetarians and non-vegans. But the thing that vegetarians and vegans need to watch out for are particularly relevant at this time of life, namely getting enough protein, eating the right variety of proteins to get all the amino acids, vitamin B12, and the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. Starting with protein, it's easy to get plenty of protein with a veggie or vegan diet, but not everyone actually achieves that, especially to begin with. People can take out the meat and fish, also eggs and dairy if vegan, but not add in the beans, lentils, peas, nuts and seeds to make up for it. And you need a variety of these to get all the different amino acids that make up different kinds of protein. In perimenopause and menopause, these amino acids are particularly important for a number of reasons. You need them for healthy tissue and to help keep your muscles strong. You also need them for thyroid hormones and stress hormones that often need more support at this time. And regular protein also helps to keep blood sugar stable, which can help take the edge off mood swings and keep levels of inflammation down at a time when inflammatory disorders can arise. Estrogen is usually protective against inflammation. So that's one reason why joint problems, headaches, digestive problems, weight gain, and even depression can flare up during perimenopause. Which brings us to EPA and DHA, the long-chain omega-3s in fish oil, which are necessary to calming down inflammation. You can make them from the slightly shorter chain omega-3s in flax seeds and chia seeds, but none of us are very efficient at that. Fortunately, you can now get vegan EPA and DHA supplements concentrated from algae. Finally, vitamin B12 and some of the amino acids are needed by your liver to break down and so help rebalance hormones such as estrogen, as well as environmental toxins described as hormone disruptors. You can't get B12 from a vegan diet, so please consider a good quality B12 supplement if you're vegan or don't have a lot of animal produce in your diet. Fiona Baker has also asked a veggie/vegan related question. She writes, being January and all, with New Year's resolutions involving less gluttony, what should anyone thinking of dieting or cutting down on food beware of nutritionally, especially if vegan/vegetarian? The hardest thing to deal with when changing your diet in any way is cravings, especially if you're reducing stimulants such as sugar, chocolate, alcohol, and refined carbohydrates, i.e. white bread, white pasta, white rice, white flour in cakes and biscuits, etc. One of the reasons for this is that those stimulants may be keeping you going when blood sugar crashes. When you take them away, you're going to feel those crashes, perhaps with energy dips, loss of concentration, headaches, dizziness, mood swings, or lack of motivation. Having regular protein in your diet will help to support this, especially at breakfast time. And as we've just discussed, protein can be lacking sometimes in vegetarian and vegan diets. So if you're having more salads and soups, that's great, but make sure there's some protein in there, whether it's beans in the soup or hummus with the salad, for example. Salads are also a bit cold for this time of year, so warm them up with some ginger in the dressing, or by serving them with some warm lentil dal, for example, or some poached eggs. Sarah Ruth Dean asks if nutrition can help someone give up smoking. As cigarettes are a stimulant, keeping blood sugar stable, as I've just described, can certainly be helpful. People frequently turn to snacking instead of smoking. Part of this may be around needing a stimulant, and there's certainly a need to replace the habit of holding a cigarette in your hand and putting it to your mouth. Often, people use sweets and treats as a replacement, so making sure healthier snacks are on hand that also support blood sugar are key. So perhaps celery sticks dipped in almond butter, for example. It's Auburn Not Ginger on Instagram is interested to know more about the science behind recent research suggesting people with allergies should avoid wheat. I'm not sure specifically which research you're referring to. I do know that asthma and allergies have been related to leaky gut syndrome or intestinal permeability, which can be triggered by gluten in people who are gluten intolerant. It's feasible also that the impact of gluten in the gut of people who are sensitive to gluten could also exacerbate other allergies. I'm not sure I would make a blanket statement about everyone with allergies needing to avoid wheat, although it might be worth trying to see if it seems to be helpful. It's Auburn Not Ginger also asks about some of the avocado-based recipes in the recipe section of my book, as they're allergic to avocado. Actually, the second edition of Nutrition Brought to Life is soon to hit the shelves, and this is something I addressed when I was doing the edits. So the avocado smoothie recipe, for example, now has options for using soaked chia seeds or oats instead of the avocado. Both options will thicken the smoothie. In terms of nutrient differences, the chia seeds will provide more fat, although a different kind of fat to avocados. Both oats and chia seeds contain considerably more protein than avocados, and avocados are the lowest in carbohydrate. They also have a very different profile of vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. I encourage you to experiment with all my recipes. I certainly never make them the same way twice, but do be aware that you may be changing the nutrient profile depending on what substitutions you make. Miranda has asked what to eat when you experience an acute life shock, when your digestion is not up to coping with much, but you would prefer to give it something with more nutritional value than a slice of white toast. It's a good point to make that your digestion can literally shut down at this time, so appetite can drop. A slice of white toast will then be easier to digest than wholemeal toast, for example. I would suggest some well-cooked soups and stews in such times. As well as being easier to digest, they're warming and comforting. Perhaps also with some homemade rice pudding, sweetened with cinnamon, unrefined maple syrup, raw honey, or blackstrap molasses. Soft-boiled or poached eggs can be a great option too, as they are nutrient-rich, particularly in choline and B5, which can help soothe the nervous system and adrenals. Finally, we have a question about the best types of pan for frying. I would usually go with stainless steel or ceramic here. I wouldn't suggest Teflon pans because even though Teflon no longer contains PFOA, a substance shown to be cancer-forming and linked to infertility, the replacement they use isn't necessarily safer. It can take decades to show that a new substance isn't safe, and until then, companies are allowed to use them. I'd also avoid aluminium and uncoated copper, as you don't want too much of those minerals building up in your body, and they can leach into your food when you're cooking. Most of my pans are stainless steel, and I find that if I don't overheat or burn things and I keep stirring them, then nothing sticks anyway, except perhaps scrambled egg, but that just takes a little extra elbow grease and a scouring brush when washing up. Thank you for all your questions. If you didn't get yours to me in time for this episode, then send it in anyway. If I get enough to record another Q&A episode, then I'll add that to the series. In the meantime, I hope the Nutrition Brought to Life podcast series has been useful. Please rate it, share it, and let me know if you've enjoyed it. The second edition of my book, Nutrition Brought to Life, should be out next month. That's February 2022. I'm really pleased it's sold enough to warrant a reprint, and I've managed to sneak in a few edits and updates. Please continue to recommend it to your friends and family, and thank you so much for all your support so far. Stay healthy and happy. Thanks for listening to the Nutrition Brought to Life podcast. There's also a Facebook group you can join called Nutrition Brought to Life Podcast Community, where you can share useful insights and recipes, ask questions, and get more support on your nutrition journey. If you haven't read it yet, there's so much more in the book, Nutrition Brought to Life, as well as all the scientific references and some glorious pictures. And you can find out more about me at kirstenchick.com.